Clothes lie, the secret history you wear every day? Intriguing background music fading out. Hey, what's up? Have you ever stood in front of the mirror right before going out and asked yourself, why this? Why this shirt and not another? Why these jeans? It seems like a simple question, but I promise you the answer is one of the wildest, deepest, and most revealing stories about who we are. Today, we're not just going to talk about fashion. We're going to descend, as if going down levels in a video game of knowledge. We'll start on the surface, with what everyone thinks they know, and at each level, we'll unlock a deeper secret until the way you see the clothes you're wearing changes forever. Ready for the journey? Let's start with level 1, the surface everyone knows. The most obvious reason we wear clothes is so we don't freeze to death or overheat. It's our first line of defense against the world. A coat in winter, a light t-shirt in summer. It's the most basic function, our personal shell. It's so obvious we hardly even think about it. Of course, and then there's the second most famous reason, personal expression. You're a rocker, you dress in black. You're an athlete, you wear comfortable branded clothes. We use clothes like a bright sign that screams to the world, this is me. Think about the first day of school. How long did you spend choosing your outfit? You did it because you know instinctively that people will read you through it before you say a single word. And of course, there's status. Since the beginning of time, clothes have served to differentiate the boss from the worker, the king from the peasant. Before it was rare animal furs or fabrics dyed with very expensive pigments like purple. Today it can be a logo, a designer bag, or limited edition sneakers. The story is the same, only the symbols change. It's a way of saying, I belong to this club, and you perhaps don't. Finally, there's modesty or decency. We cover certain parts of our body because, well, just because. It's the norm, but have you ever stopped to think why? Why is a knee scandalous in one culture and a shoulder in another? Who decided these rules that we follow so blindly every day? Okay, let's recap this first level. Protection, expression, status, and modesty. This is the tip of the iceberg. It's what your grandmother, your teacher, and Wikipedia would tell you about clothes. It's true, yes, but it's such an incomplete truth that it's almost a lie. But if this is what we see on the surface, what secret engines are moving it underneath? It's time to dive in. Welcome to level 2. Level 2, the hidden mechanisms. Remember we talked about wearing clothes to show status? Well, the real reason it works is a principle called costly signaling. It's an idea from biology. Think of a peacock. Its tail is enormous, heavy, and attracts predators. It's a huge cost. But that's precisely why it works as a signal. Look at me. I'm so strong and healthy that I can afford this useless luxury and still survive. Your expensive watch or exclusive sneakers are your peacock tail. They're not valuable for what they do, but for what they communicate. I can afford to spend this. And then there's the engine of trends, of why something becomes fashionable. There's an invisible rule here, the in-group, out-group dynamic. Humans are programmed to belong. When a cool group adopts a style, others copy it to feel part of it. But as soon as too many outsiders copy it, the original group abandons it to seek something new and maintain their exclusivity. It's a never-ending cycle. Think of any trend you've seen born and die. It's this engine working in the background. Now let's talk about a factory error in our brain that clothes exploit, the halo effect. It's super simple. If we see a positive characteristic in someone, like being well-dressed, our brain automatically assumes they also have other positive characteristics. They are smarter, more competent, more trustworthy. It's a mental shortcut. That's why a suit in a job interview is so powerful. It's not the fabric, it's that you're hacking the interviewer's brain to see you with a halo of competence. And what about the origin of men's and women's clothing? Forget what you think you know. Let's go to 18th century England. The male aristocracy, in an event historians call the Great Male Renunciation, abandoned bright colors, heels, and makeup to adopt sober, dark suits. Why? To appear more serious, more businesslike, leaving all the adornment to women. That decision from 300 years ago is why, even today, men's clothing aisles in stores are a sea of navy blue, gray, and black. Ultimately, many of these mechanisms solve a super fundamental human need, to reduce uncertainty. The world is a complex and chaotic place. Clothes give us an instant coding system. In seconds, we can catalog others and ourselves, creating a social map that makes us feel more secure. Whether we like it or not, clothing is a silent language we all speak to bring order to social chaos. And notice how this changes everything. That simple t-shirt you wear to express yourself, as we saw at the beginning, now you know it can also be functioning as a costly signal if it's from a specific brand. It includes you in a group, and it activates the halo effect in others. It's no longer just a t-shirt, it's a highly complex psychological tool. Understanding these hidden gears is like going from being a simple player to understanding the game's code. It gives you power. You can decide to play, you can decide not to, or you can play by your own rules. You stop being a puppet of trends and start being the one pulling the strings. But if you thought we had everything clear by now, get ready, because this is where the story turns into a real mess. It's time to descend to level 3. Level 3, the chaos of reality. Let's talk about today's big controversy, fast fashion. On one hand, you have companies offering the latest trends at ridiculous prices. The democratization of fashion, they say. Anyone can dress like they're on the runway. On the other hand, you have the reality, terrible working conditions for those who make it, and an ecological disaster due to the wear and throw away culture. Is your comfort and style worth that price? There's no easy answer. Now, a secret. Let me debunk a giant myth. Pink is for girls and blue is for boys. False. Until the early 20th century, it was the other way around. Pink, being a derivative of red, a strong, warlike color, was considered masculine. Blue, more delicate and serene, associated with the Virgin Mary, was for girls. Why did it change? Marketing. Pure and simple marketing strategy by stores in the 1940s to sell more clothes. We love to believe in these myths because they give us simple rules, but the truth is they are recent inventions. And here comes a mind-bending paradox. We use clothes to express our unique individuality, but we do so by following trends and wearing mass-produced garments worn by millions of people. We want to be different, but our method for doing so is, in reality, to conform. We are individual conformists. It's a walking contradiction, and we all live in it. Now let's be critical. Let's think about school uniforms. The excuse is that they equalize all children and eliminate social pressure. But is that really correct? Or is it a form of control? A way to teach children from a young age to suppress personal identity in favor of institutional conformity? By protecting them from differences? Aren't we robbing them of the opportunity to learn to navigate them? Another controversy that has changed over time is cultural appropriation. 50 years ago, nobody cared if a Western designer used motifs from an African tribe. Today, it's a minefield. Where's the line between appreciation and theft? Is it a homage or is it exploitation that erases the original meaning? The debate has evolved from non-existent to being one of fashion's central topics, and there's still no clear consensus. All of this leads us to a fundamental problem of the human condition that clothing perfectly exposes: the constant tension between our need to be unique individuals and our desperate need to belong to a group. We want both at the same time, and they are contradictory. Clothes are the battlefield where this internal war is fought every morning in front of the wardrobe. So this is level 3. The reality is that the world of clothing is neither clean nor orderly. It's a chaos of ethical debates, myths we believe, irresolvable paradoxes, and uncomfortable questions. And that's okay. Life is that complex. All right, you've survived the chaos. You've seen the hidden mechanisms and the controversies. Now it's time to see the details that separate the curious from the true connoisseurs. Welcome to Level 4. Level 4, expert knowledge. Have you heard of sumptuary laws? For centuries, in many parts of Europe and Asia, there were laws that legally dictated what you could wear according to your social class. A peasant could be fined or even imprisoned for wearing the color purple or certain types of silk, which were reserved for royalty. It wasn't a social norm, it was the law. Power explicitly defined your wardrobe. Now, a modern psychology concept you're going to love: enclothed cognition. It's the idea that the clothes we wear change how we think and act. The best analogy is this: putting on a doctor's lab coat doesn't make you smarter, but studies show that if you wear it, your attention and precision in mental tasks increase. It's as if the symbolism of the garment activates certain capabilities in your brain. Clothes don't just cover you, they configure you mentally. Let's talk about a forgotten hero, James Laver, a fashion historian. He created something called Laver's Law, which describes the life cycle of a trend. It states that the same dress can be indecent 10 years before its time, daring 1 year before, fashionable at its time, dowdy 1 year after, hideous 10 years after, ridiculous 20 years after, amusing 50 years after, charming 100 years after, and romantic 150 years after. This man deciphered the code of time and fashion. There's a rebel theory that challenges the idea that everything in clothing is about status and power. Some anthropologists suggest that clothing, at its origin, has more to do with play and magic. Decorating the body with paints, feathers, or furs wasn't to display wealth, but to transform oneself, to invoke spirits, for rituals, to play at being someone else. Perhaps deep down, dressing up is still an act of magical play, and a scientific detail that clashes with our intuition. You'd think that in hot climates wearing less clothing is better, but science says not always. Think of the desert Bedouins with their loose, dark robes. Science has shown that these garments create a layer of air between the fabric and the skin. The heat warms the fabric, the air rises and escapes from above, creating a convection current that actually cools the body. Sometimes more clothing means being cooler. And here comes the aha moment. Remember we talked about those ancient sumptuary laws that legally prohibited certain colors to the poor? And we also talked about the cycle of trends, that invisible in-group, out-group rule. They are the same thing. The laws were just the explicit legal version of what we do implicitly and socially today. It has always been about the same thing, using clothes to create and maintain power barriers. The mechanism is the same, it's just hidden now. Reaching this level of detail isn't for showing off at a dinner party. It's to understand that the things we take for granted, like choosing a shirt, are connected to centuries of laws, to the deepest psychology of our brain, and to predictable social cycles. It gives you a much richer and frankly much more interesting view of the world. We have reached the limit of what is known with certainty. We have explored history, psychology, chaos. Do you dare to look beyond, to the final frontier where there are only questions and wonder? Let's go to level 5. Level 5, the final frontier. What will clothes be like in 100 years? Forget fashion. Think about smart fabrics that monitor your health in real time and call an ambulance if you have a heart attack. Clothes that change color and shape with a thought, or that self-repair. Or even living clothing, biofabricated, that grows with you and adapts to your body. Clothes will stop being passive objects and become an active extension of ourselves. But here's the deepest question, the one no one can answer. If clothing is a language, is it a universal language? If we met an intelligent alien species that has no physical body or doesn't need to cover itself, could we ever explain the concept of fashion to them? Would they understand why a piece of fabric can signify power, love, rebellion, or identity? Or is clothing such an intrinsically human idea that it is untranslatable? And now the idea that will blow your mind. In biology, there's the concept of extended phenotype. It says that an animal's genes not only build its body, but also things outside of it, like a spider's web or a bird's nest. What if our clothes are our extended phenotype? It's not something we wear. It's a direct extension of our consciousness, our culture, and our identity. That jacket isn't a symbol of who you are. In a very real way, it is part of you. Understanding this is key to our future. As we delve into digital worlds like the metaverse, physical clothing might lose importance, but the need to signal identity won't disappear. It will transfer to the skins of our avatars. Will we create a new system of digital sumptuary laws? A new fast fashion for avatars with an energy and social cost we can't yet imagine? The battle for identity will continue on new battlegrounds. And the last idea, perhaps the most provocative after this whole journey, what if the entire history of clothing, from prehistoric furs to haute couture, from sumptuary laws to logos, is nothing more than an elaborate, highly complex, and millennia-old conspiracy to hide the one truth we cannot bear, the truth of our nakedness, that beneath all these layers, we are biologically equal, vulnerable, and mortal. The descent is over. We have traveled through 5 levels of knowledge. Now, with this new perspective, it's time to return to the surface and contemplate the incredible panorama we have discovered. At the beginning of this journey, we started with a very simple idea, that clothes protect us from the cold. It was a flat, two-dimensional truth. Now look where we are. We have arrived at the idea that clothing could be a physical extension of our consciousness, a battlefield for our internal paradoxes, and a way to hide our shared mortality. We have gone from seeing a simple t-shirt to seeing a psychological, historical, and philosophical artifact. You have transformed an everyday object into a portal to the deepest questions about who we are. And now I ask you, from this whole journey, from all these ideas, which one impacted you the most or left you thinking? I truly want to know. Leave your reflection in the comments because that's where the conversation continues. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for dedicating your time and curiosity to me. If you like these deep dives into things we take for granted, subscribe, because we've barely started scratching the surface. See you on the next ascent.